So I began by lifting up the little clips, and then after that I just needed to very carefully work my knife under it because the whole back. So this took quite a while. I had to be careful not to rip it, but once I got 3/4 of the way up, a couple of little bolts were revealed. Now these 2 bolts are what keep the silver play button in place. Also, don't panic. I know currently this is a silver play button. I will turn it into a gold. The rest of the felt removed, and then all I needed to do was unscrew those clips, and that disattached the play button on the other side. So at this point I was able to pull the cardboard backing out, and it was absolutely incredible to see the disattached silver play button. I absolutely loved holding this thing. And then when I picked up the frame, a load of wood fell out of it, and I was very confused. But we can come back to that later. So I decided I'd whack my gloves on, and I'd give the silver play button a much needed polish, because it had not had human contact for about 4 or 5 years. This is real silver, by the way. It definitely feels like silver when you give it a tap. Of course, while I had the silver play button, I took this rare opportunity to create my first authentic YouTube play button necklace. Don't I look absolutely epic? Yes, yes, I do. But now enough playing around, because it was time to attach the replacement backing to the original. So once I made sure it was the correct size, I then just needed to cut it out so 2 holes for the play button to be fitted, and then over the top. Now I realize in retrospect that this was probably a mistake, and I perhaps should have just used something as straightforward as a glue stick, because when I went ahead and actually tried to stick the replacement on top, it immediately got stuck too early in the wrong place, and then I couldn't unstick it, and I ended up ruining the whole thing, and it got completely creased, and yeah, it was game over. But fortunately, I'd ordered more than one, so I cut the new one out carefully. I attached it on top. It didn't stick perfectly. It was a little bit bumpy because of the tape underneath. That's why I probably should have used a glue stick. But it was still good enough. So at that point, just to check how things were looking, I decided I would reinstall the silver play button, and it looked great. I was really happy with how it looked so far, even if my face doesn't suggest that I was happy. So then the exciting bit, because it was time shake thing that you do. I sprayed some on the back first just to test it. That's what it said to do on the instructions. I don't quite know what I was meant to be looking for, but it didn't, you know, explode or anything. So then I gave it one last little polish, and then I sprayed the gold spray all over it, which was very cool and quite satisfying to do. While that was drying, it was time for this. So I went ahead and checked to see how my gold play button was doing outside. It had dried. It looked very, very nice. But you see on the right, there was a couple of bits where I'd missed the spray. So I decided I'd just give it a second coat and, you know, try and get any uneven bits. While we wait for the second coat, it was time to clean up the glass, because obviously the glass had been exposed to the elements for the last 4 inches. And at this point, we are very close to finishing the don't subscribe gold play button, but I want to quickly remind you to subscribe if you have not already. Please! Why are we not on 1.8 million subscribers yet? We've been stuck at 1.7 for bloody ages. So yes, if you enjoy these videos, please check if you're subscribed. Thank you very much. After my lunch and self-promo, the gold play button had dried, and I took it out into the sun so I could show you what it looked like, because oh, it looks very, very nice. I'm actually really pleased with it. The spray coated very, very evenly in the end, and look at it glimmering in the sun. Oh! And then all I needed to do now was put the 1 million subscriber diamond play button cloth, and then I added in those 4 pieces of wood, which you'll remember they fell out when I opened this thing up for the first time. And it was time to get my brand spanking new gold play button and screw it to the back panel. This became slightly more complicated when I realized that I'd lost one of the screws. Do not quite know how that happened, but about 10 minutes later I found it, don't worry. So I screwed both panels together, then I just needed to shove it in with the frame. And then in order to hide my mess at the back, this took a little while, but eventually we did it. I used a bit of grip tape just to keep the whole thing in place. And then finally, going full circle, I just needed to reattach the little panel thing that helps you clip it onto the wall. And just like that, my first custom play button was complete. Do you want to see it? Yes, you do! Look at